there's a lot of speculation.
Okay.
AEW World's End, we found out that Adam Cole was the devil.
Yes.
We saw Samoa Joe beat MJF cleanly. And MJF seemingly injured, multiple injuries, but has a couple injuries that are going to keep him out of action for at least a couple weeks, couple months. And something happened after that event was we've known for a long time. The speculation, the rumors have always been January of 2024 was the month that MJF's contract runs out with AEW. Now, Dirt Sheets has speculated that he re-signed. He signed a extension at some point that was never announced. But here's the thing, Laura. The other day, AEW pulled MJF off of their roster page on the website. Now,
okay,
this begins the age-old thing that happens when shit like this happens is you have two camps, right? You have the IWC and the AEW fans who are screaming, this is a work, this is a story, you guys are getting played. This is Tony Khan and MJF being brilliant and
so smart.
And yeah, they're so smart the way they're booking this. And then you have the WWE side who's literally already saying,
told you.
Royal Rumble, he shows up, or night after WrestleMania, he shows up. And so you have these two camps that are arguing on the internet right now. And I think where I stand is kind of in the middle of all of it. I don't know. I used to be a huge proponent of the idea that MJF jump ship and go to WWE. I always thought I was in the camp because there's two camps when it comes to MJF. There's one camp who says if he goes to WWE, he'll be muzzled and he can't talk like he wants to talk. Bullshit. Yeah. He'll be just fine. MJF in WWE will be just fine. Here's my issue. When we just talked about this, the WWE roster right now is insane.
Yes.
It is so stacked up at the top. Randy Orton, LA Knight, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. You keep going and going and going. I don't think there's any room right now for somebody like MJF to make that jump. Like if there was a time to make the jump, this is not it. This is not the moment that you make that jump. So I don't know if it's a work. I don't know if it's real. What I do know, I just hit that thing. I was trying to knock that thing off. What I do know is that if I was MJF, I would have to take a hard look.
Because is it worth being part of like the big league but never being seen, or the smaller one but being a star?
Well, yes, I agree. And let me jump on top of that is he's still young.
Yeah.
So why not go Tony Khan? Give me 2 years, $40 million, right? Give me some astronomical contract to keep me here, because without MJF, AEW's dead. Yeah. Like I will officially say that. If they lose MJF, if this turns out to be real, if MJF shows up at the Royal Rumble or the day after Monday or WrestleMania, they're done. That's it. That's the end. They can't survive with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Samoa Joe. That's not enough for them to survive in the commercial wrestling market world. It's just not. They'll be a niche little company. They can have their little house shows and small events, but they'll never be as big as they could be. They need MJF. They need MJF way more than WWE needs MJF at this point.
He's a star there.
Oh yeah, he'll be a star either place, but he'll be one of the stars in WWE. In AEW, I literally think he's the most important domino that they can possess. I don't, at this point in time, unless they could lure one of the big five away from WWE, which WWE right now is on this rampage of just locking people down with contracts. You know, they made this deal and they said, oh, UFC and TKO, they're going to come in and they're going to cut budgets. It's been the opposite. They've come in and they've started solidifying long-term contracts with all of their major talent. They're making sure that everything is shored up. And I think if I'm MJF, I look at this, I go, this is not the time. This is not it.
Like, let's say he comes in, right? Because I take it that there's some wrestling fans who don't know who MJF is, right? There's got to be some. Like, I only know who MJF is because we watch AEW together. I'm not necessarily going to go and watch AEW just because I want to watch AEW.
That's an interesting point. That is an interesting. That's a very interesting point. Do the most casual of casual wrestling fans who live in a bubble where WWE is wrestling, do they know? I imagine they've heard of MJF.
Yeah.
But how familiar are they with his work? That's interesting. That's a good question.
We did that whole segment where it was like, guess this AEW wrestler. I'm sure there's people who can't name them, but like, to me, it's not worth coming over right now, because if you flop, then all they remember is that. They're not going to remember that, oh, you were so good in AEW or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, definitely. It makes sense. My gut feeling is he won't flop, but my gut feeling is you're not walking in and winning a world title. Yeah. You're not walking in the door and becoming the number one guy. You don't walk in the door and have any real kind of cachet to call your shots. You walk in the door and it's going to be a prove it thing. Like, you're going to walk, and not that MJF's not capable of proving it and ascending to the top, but I just think if I'm looking at it and I go, I'm 25 years old, like MJF, I can go 3 more years in AEW. If it fucking folds up and closes up, then fuck it. I can go to WWE whenever I want. But why would I jump into shark-infested waters when, like, right now is the bloodiest the water's ever been? We're just talking about right now. We're talking about what the fuck do you do with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania?
Yeah.
A guy like Cody Rhodes, who's possibly one of the biggest names in wrestling, and we're like, what do you do with him? He may end up in a match that we're not booking as a main event match that is Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. That's a high possibility that's just a match on the WrestleMania card. True. It just appears on the card somewhere that we have Roman Reigns versus The Rock. We have CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. We have all of this talent. You have all of these names, and I just don't think this is the time I would want to jump into that water. There's plenty of time. Let some of these old guys die out. If I'm MJF, right? Randy Orton's on the back end. CM Punk's on the back end, right? Roman's 1 foot out the door. As soon as some of those names clear up, there will be open water to jump in and swim with guys like Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker when those guys get to going and those guys come up. I don't know that right now I would want to be a young superstar fighting for attention on the main roster.
True.
There's just not much. When you look at SmackDown, there's just not a lot of time for other people. LA Knight, right?
Yeah.
We're not even talking about LA Knight anymore, and he's still probably getting the biggest reaction from any wrestler in the business. So if I'm MJF, I just don't know that I want to do it. If he shows up at the Royal Rumble, which I don't think so. If I'm a betting man, he doesn't show up at the Royal Rumble. AEW is dead. Tony Khan is dead. Like, I don't know what move at this point could AEW make that would change the opinion of the average casual wrestling fan. There's no more, like, here's the problem. Tony Khan, he reminds me of a circus, like a ringmaster, right? He's always got something behind the next curtain. And it really feels like, to me at this point, he's run out of curtains to pull back.
True.
You know, right now it's like the big thing is Sting's retirement match. But once that's over, what do you promote after that? I have no problem. I have no issue with this thing that Samoa Joe is the AEW world champion. I think Samoa Joe's perfectly fine for that role, but he's not selling tickets.
I don't want to see Samoa Joe as the...
But whatever it is, Samoa Joe is great, but he's just been tarnished by years of casual fans being told by WWE he wasn't that important. So the AEW hardcore fans, they get it. They look at him and go, he's fucking phenomenal. And he's good. He's good. If you watch
I don't think
Samoa
he's
Joe,
a bad wrestler. He's not exciting to me. I don't get that, like, sparkle when I hear his name.
But you haven't watched Samoa Joe outside of WWE. That is my point.
No, the only time I saw him is when we went to go see him live, and then he got hurt and wobbled off the side.
That's my point. My point is you are the prime example of what I'm talking about, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like, your perception of every wrestler is what WWE presents to you, and when they leave, you don't give a fuck. Like, you don't care. Sasha Banks will always be Sasha Banks to you.
Yeah.
She will never be Mercedes Moné. Once she left WWE, you have this mentality, she doesn't exist anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Even with Jon Moxley. I imagine your memories mostly of Jon Moxley stem from like Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he's still Dean Ambrose in my mind.
And that to me, I think you're onto something when you say, do people know who MJF is? I straddle the line of casual fan and internet wrestling fan. I still say I'm casual because of my watching habits, but I have a little deeper knowledge, and I tend to even forget that like not everybody knows who MJF is, or not everybody knows how deep like Samoa Joe's history with TNA and Ring of Honor and all of these other places he's been. Even I don't have a recollection of like pre-WWE Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
So that, I
mean, and I think most casual wrestlers aren't necessarily going to go back and do that research.
They're not.
I just want to be entertained, and that's it.
They're not.
Like,
that's exactly right. I
casually want to watch it, you know?
Well, and why would you go back when right now, we are at kind of the pinnacle of what WWE has been for the last 20 years. Like this is, it has not been this good in a long time. There's not, I'm just astonished when you start looking at the roster and you just start saying Randy Orton, LA Knight, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens. You're just naming off fucking major superstars who could main event in their own right.
Yeah, and I mean the girls division too is pretty good.
Yeah, we're not even talking about the girls division right now. I agree, right? The girls division is probably 4 times ahead of AEW. But the men's division, as far as commercial star power right now, WWE's like leaps and bounds ahead of AEW.